And that was a way to control them. I mean, you think all these Prozac ads, all these beer ads, all these drug ads are an accident? They figured all this out a long time ago. So, China's been New World Order run for several hundred years. The Japanese got too big for their britches. Thug governments all act the same. Doesn't matter if it's our government, Ahmadinejad, doesn't matter if it's the Japanese. You know, avarice-filled, dominating men of power who are ruthless and who enjoy war and destruction and control, they rise to the top, as all philosophers have noted throughout history, because good men lay down to them. Good men are more intelligent, stronger, better, everything. But we have a blind spot. We can't believe it's happening to us. We can't believe other people are like that. We want to buy into the fake little narratives of the people, you know, singing the Star-Spangled Banner while the flag still waves at a football game and all the guys crying, they're there with their son. Meanwhile, what America was and what that flag symbolizes and all the blood that went into it, a great idea, the most noble in our history, has been destroyed. But you don't care. You just want the symbol. You want the symbol above the substance. If I could have the liberty back and if the people could awaken from their slumber and their trance, I would rather have freedom in this country than that flag. The only reason the flag has any positive meaning is because it symbolized the spirit of 1776, which the system has tried to defile and pull down and demonize, because it wasn't perfect, but it's the best that's ever been. Now, this China situation, China has been set up, China has been deployed, China has been built up with tariffs and taxes and regulations and carbon taxes, and all these other fines and fees and controls on our industries, on our power plants, the environmental rules, the workers' comp, all of it. And a lot of it is, you know, great on the surface. But China and India and Mexico and 160 plus other third world countries are completely exempt from this global government. The global government is run by the big mega banks and mega corporations and retail corporations that are their subsidiaries, who openly write the international rules. So they write the rules where it's hard to have a job here in the U.S., it's hard to develop anything. Big Agri tries to pass more rules to shut down farms and ranches to make it nearly impossible to even provide our own food. Once the breadbasket of the world, now can't even supply our own food in many cases. We're being brought down. We're being made dependent. We're being put under siege. How do you make a city fall, a nation fall? You put it under siege. You cut its food and water off. You cut its intellect, its will to fight off. This is all psychological warfare by the globalists who play the U.S. off against Russia, Russia off against China, China off against Japan, China off against South Korea, South Korea off against North Korea, the U.S. off against China. It's all back and forth while the bankers sit up above it. They've stolen more than $50 trillion total globally, and that's, again, an old number. $28 trillion in the U.S., disappeared, won't say where it is, but we're told on CNN, in the AP, all over the news, yes, it's China. America's done. China is the boss. China is great. China is the model. China knows best. It's not father knows best, it's China knows best. We've got a leaderless, fatherless country. We've got a childlike nation of dumbed-down people who've been taught that being weak is cool. And then you've got a giant mechanized slave country. And I know a lot of folks that have lived in China and been there. I mean, the police will just cut your testicles off in the middle of the street for fun, and you'll routinely just see people on the street corner with their pants pulled off and police walking by laughing with their genitals cut off. I mean, it is, we were sent video by a guy that's done graphics for us because his girlfriend's Chinese. He stayed a few months over there, of youth brigades marching in the middle of cities, just with red flags. And I mean, it is creepy. Troops marching, total telescreens with troops announcing China's taking over. We're going to get the U.S. Their top generals are in the news every day saying we're preparing for war. The U.S. is our enemy. Meanwhile, our media is, oh, China is so good. By the way, I'm not joking about that. The police, it's just a reign of terror over there. Paul Watson's wife is Chinese. She speaks perfect English and lived in England most of her life. The point is, she's Chinese. She has family in China. He was over there with her, and they just wrote an article about the Rand Corporation wanting to have war with China in the future. And her family and people got questioned, and she got put on a list and was told, you better not write for prisonplanet.com anymore. That's the authoritarianism of China. Reaching into England, reaching into prisonplanet.com, reaching into my free speech. And now, oh, Harry Reid better not call Hu Jintao a dictator when that's what he is. He is a dictator. He's elected by a committee of dictators. So it's a dictatorship of the inner party. And man, you see films of their party conferences. What a group of preening, sycophantic devils. It's not about their art, their literature, their inventions, what they've done. It's all that their grandparents were murderers with Mao Zedong and knew how to sycophantically lick his boots. China is a giant North Korea that the elites in the West openly saw and went and funded and empowered and tilted the playing field to give China everything. And then when Americans point out how we've been deindustrialized, we're told, shut up, fat, dumb Americans. It's your fault this has happened. Really? Have you read NAFTA and GATT? Have you read the WTO rules? On taxes, China's much lower. Environmental regulations, there are none. Their rivers literally catch on fire routinely. Carbon taxes, harassment of power plants, they build 2 to 3 a week. We build 2 a year. Zero. Everything tilted for them. They have to put nets up at all their major factories that make the Apple goods and others because they were having suicides every lunch hour. The people are chained to their systems. Around a third of the population lives in giant public prisons that are locked at night. You're locked in your house, locked in your neighborhood. Your children are taken at birth and trained and brainwashed and turned against you. Then they are sent to work half the week at factories. 10, 11, 12, 13-year-olds. What's our government's answer? More regulations, more taxes, more carbon taxes. Now, what's going to happen with China? It isn't that Americans are dumb idiots and buy the Chinese slave goods that break by the time you get out of the box half the time, that are covered and dripping with every poison you can imagine, and the melamine-filled milk and the poison drugs, the prescription drugs. It's that you go to a store and 95% of it is made in China. Oh, yeah, people were dumb 30 years ago buying Chinese goods. But now, see, we're held by the throat. The truth is we don't need all this crud. I'm going to come back and break down what's going to happen, what they're doing, and why they're openly over here humiliating us with our president bowing with Chinese flags up and down Pennsylvania Avenue. Get up! Egypt! Escape from the prison planet! What's happening is a prison planet is being built. And that's the UN official program. We cover it in Endgame, online bibliography proving it. And what is the Endgame.com? You constantly see, the head of space, NASA Goddard Center saying we need to be like the Chinese. We need a global tyranny. You see all these other professors constantly saying, we need the Chinese model. We need to sterilize people. We need a one-child policy. Ted Turner a month ago in Mexico. China is the model officially. They have UN meetings there, like the one in 96, the UN Food Program, and they said, we will use food as a weapon, as Chairman Mao did in the Great Leap Forward in the Cultural Revolution. I mean, the Chinese have been chosen as the drone rock stars of the New World Order. They are the army. And the Chinese people aren't bad, but they've got a 5,000-year history of being enslaved and being killed and being tortured to death if they don't do what they're told. And there's so many facets to this. We have our media. We have our culture now with almost no criticism ever of China. Just 5-10 years ago, they criticized China, killing people for organs and their secret arrest and things. And now it's just, oh, China is wonderful. And the Associated Press says, well, it is true. They own our debt. They're kind of like our landlord now. I have the quotes here. They're in Paul Watson's article today. There's two articles, actually. Meet the New Boss, China Owns the United States. That's prisonplanet.com by Alex Jones and Paul Watson. Here's a current memo. China plants flag on Constitution Avenue. Now, on paper, the Chinese, quote, own the majority of the debt. But remember, that's 1 trillion, 100 billion or so. Where'd the 28 trillion go? That's 27 times or 28 times what the Chinese supposedly own. This is all just about breaking our will. If the TSA can put their hands down our pants, if we can see Chinese flags, not done for the British, not done for the Russians, not done for the Chileans, not done for anybody. I mean, they put red Chinese dipped in blood flags, you know, blood red, yellow star. That banner's got more dead under it than Hitler and Stalin combined. They put that up and down the street, and now Harry Reid is in the New York Daily News being excoriated, and they lit up the Empire State's Building for China, you know, for their 4th of July, for their National Day. All of Times Square has been turned into a pro-Chinese government event. They're opening restaurants all over Europe and the U.S. called Mao's, and I see kids everywhere wearing red stars. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's fun. It's fun to be a slave. And then I think about national organizations out there. Remember a few months ago, a group against the national deficit ran a minute-long TV ad where a Chinese president, Citizens Against Government Waste, where the Chinese government is up there bragging to a group of college students about how America fell by being in debt to China and how they bought cheap goods and how they had too high a taxes and regulation. That's actually what China teaches. And he then brags, that's why we took over America. That's why we own America. We have links to news articles in China, to TV pieces where the Chinese government is actually pridefully speaking about how we are their enemy, but they own us, and we're pathetic, and we're decadent, and we're bad, and our own media is agreeing. Again, this is about just totally getting us ready to accept any and everything. So I want to come back and go through all the news on this and what this means and what it means to have Obama bowing to him. In fact, we'll show you that again on screen as we go out to break. But I want to tell you the master plan, where all of this is leading, where it's going to go. Then I got another report here. A man died from breathing fluoride. Got a lot more coming up.